kinetics, the Scarloft metal slingers. We call them firearms. Anita told him the Scarl was the ugliest thing Anita had ever seen. He had 6 legs, 4 arms, and a pair of pincers, and a venomous tail that reminded her of a scorpion. His exoskeleton was a sickly yellow, and his mandibles made an awful clacking noise when he got excited, which he did a lot, was an excitable guy. The Scar laughed again, the rest of the gang laughed with him. Anita laughed too nervously, she never sked for this. She'd just be entering to get away, make a new life for herself on the frontier. If she'd known it would be like this, she'd have stayed on Earth. She'd have still been homeless, but at least she wouldn't be tied up or at risk of being eaten. Con's antenna wiggled in amusement. His buggies and mandibles didn't allow for much expression, but Anita had been learning his tales. She had no choice. Conway's the only thing keeping the Rondar members of his gang from eating her. She had to keep him happy until she had a chance to get away. How embarrassing, the gang leader teased. You prims think you can settle the stars and you don't even have real guns. Well, and was pretty sure a pistol would kill the hell out of Klon, but she wasn't dumb enough to argue with the thing. She shrugged as best she could. CL chuckled again. You see, Duro, it told you these lunars were easy pickings. I wouldn't be too sure about that. Dirk rumbled. Dirk was continent or second in command or something. He was a grubig, and wide his body was covered in redarmored plates. Anita had heard their nobles engraved their carpus with gold, but Durko didn't have anything like that. Being a commoner didn't make him any less dangerous. She'd felt the grotto's grip. LD squish her skull without adventuring. Cl's mandibles clacked. Why not? Don't play dumb. Klonder cockeyed. You heard the rumor, same as Methun's antenna wiggled in irritation. You really believe that dumb story? That's a stupid name. Glod spoke up. Gele was a Ronder. He was big, almost as big as Durko. His body was wide and blocky, and he didn't have a head. What he did have was a tool large mouth in center of his abdomen, with a tree of nostrils and a single large eye above it. There were a lot of Rondar in the gang, and they were all the same, big, stupid, and hungry. Anita thank Eder lucky stars. CL never left there alone with one, not that her stars were that lucky. Who's the lead dealer? It's just a story told him. Our rumor going around. They says some human lunker took up as a vigilant test, started hitting gang Saul by his lonesome, a man in black with a big black hat. They say he ain't got. And Mederco added word as she's going around the frontier in a stolen ship, killing every soul he finds. She shows up and everyone who Zesham gets ganked. They say he can't die, can't be tracked, and can't be stopped. He shows up out of nowhere, and the only things she leaves are broke in bodies and the sound of thunder. They say a human dust that GLA's coughed. One of his meaty hands clamped down on Anita. The Rond lifted her in the air, a puny primitive human like this boy. Anita was definitely not a boy, but Rondar were stupid and had no concept of gender. That's a girl. Glodder curled his eyes. Put her down. Look at him. Der Coglod shook. Anita formed faces. She's soft and weak and tinny. How could a human kill anything? Put her down. Glad Clud clacked menacingly. What did is about touching the merchandise? Right, all right. Glad dropped Anita. She couldn't scramble away from him. Tied. Upa shoes, but Shoe wriggled and rolled as far as she could. I'm just saying humies ain't that tough. It told you it's just a story. Soon reminded him. I ain't so sure. Derek told him bunch of gangs gone missing in the last few months. Big gang, serious players. The Grotto's voice was grave. The Hipples, the Clonks event. The Brill gang. The Brill gang. Thud cocked his antenna. Ain't that run be a grew? Noble sure was said. Derek Brewer of House Azerward is he got bored living the high life and came out there to stomple over the prims, and he's missing. Clun sounded concerned. He ain't missing D. Erko told him BRS is dead as dead can be. House Ezier sell up in arms about it, and you think a human did it. Klon gave a contemptuous hiss. A human killing a gru. Noble don't know. Durko shrug. Could be nonsense. Well, something killed him. Durko was sure. I seen 2 Azer strike teams this month. They ain't going to talk to a commoner, but they wouldn't be out here if Brill was among the living. Nonsense. Kun repeated. If something took out Brilla, it's sure a scat wasn't a human. Maybe he done pissed off one of the syndicates. I don't know anyone else having the juice to take out him or the less. Could be. Durko admitted. I'm just saying we should be careful is all. Whatever's ganking the other gangs might decide to come at us too. How could a human even kill a Grug asked. How would I know? Durka scaled at the Rondare. It's just a rumor. The stupid rumor. GLA agreed. What if it tain't fine? Spoke up. 5N was Phila, and he was short, smaller than Anita. He had 3 eyes, and his body was covered in long range. For the Phelan had compensated for his size by strapping over a dozen blasters to himself. Anita thought the looked ridiculous, but she wasn't dumb enough to say's outlaw. What you think? The lead dealer is real on. Chuckled. It's a ghost story. 5. You know how rumors fly on the frontier. But what if his Fen's eyes darted around nervously like he expected a human in a big black hat to appear at any moment? What if there's a human out there hunting outlaws? Then he's an idiot. Soon replied. A dead idiot. If he's dumb enough to show his face, if he's real, he ain't going to be doing much. Durko pointed out if some human killed a Gru, noble he'd have strike teams after him and a bounty on his head. Ain't noon going to look for more trouble when they got the tinned of heat. True, Priva nodded nervously. True, but what about the guns? What guns? Duro folded his massive arms across his even more massive chest. The rock thrower's firearms, 5 agreed. Everyone says the lead dealer used human weapons, chunks of lead propelled by chemical explosives. That's why they call him the lead dealer. Stupid name, Glad yelled. I didn't pick it. Durko muttered had thought for a moment. I'll tell you what, 5 you're such a cowardly lunker that you're scared of a bunch of rock-throwing prims. You can call it quits. Ain't no place in the gang for weaklings and chumps, so hits Priven out. GLA asked eagerly, can I eat them? 5 pulled. 2 blasters. Sautan pointed the Mac. Glad try it. And I'll turn you into chunks. She looked up at Durko. I'm not scared. Durko, I just think we should be careful, like the prims are going to do anything but run and hide. Kun muttered. He's lapped a combadge attached to a strap on his thorax. He's Kara well-landed, yet I got things to do or in boss. The voice crackled over the docking bay, just repressurized. I'm lowering the ramp, now about time soon. Complained you stay in the hot seats, Carrie? You know the drill. He's lapped his communicator again. He pointed a pincer at Anita Darog. Ab the prim, will you? I don't want the running off. You don't have to do this. You know, Anita knew she wasn't going to talk her way out of this, but she couldn't help but try. It told you everything, didn't I? You should let me stay. I can help you. Are helping soon. Told her we're going to be hitting a human colony in a couple days, little town called Far Away. The thing is, you humans are a new species. I don't know the going rate, so we're taking you to a dealer. If he pays a good price for your scrawny hide, we'll set up to take some slaves. If you don't, we're going to feed you to Gladder, said Sirio. Usly, so you best not put a kink in the deal, but I can help you. Anita pleaded. I can do stuff, get into places. Be sure to tell Bonnie. That said, Tun might help your price. Bitha watched the door detach and lower into a ramp, then turned to the rest of the crew. 15 aliens, alarmed, all jerks. Dara, Glad, and 5 Nair with me. We're going to go sell this little prim. The rest of you stay with the ship. It got a supply delivery coming in the next hour. I expect you lungers to load up the stuff. Some of the crew muttered complaints, soon clacked. And now whining you stock up today or we don't eat 'em. Or a word ring. Durko added, be careful with the booze lunkers. Last time you broke a whole crate. Here, each down and grabbed the metal cable that was wrapped around. Anita had tucked the human under one massive arm like a bag of groceries. We'll be back in a bit. It was an awkward trip. Kendall Station was crowded. Various species cast curious glances at the bandits and their human cargo. Anita noticed that every single one of them had a gun armed, or not. Noon gave Kun's crew and their captive human so much as a glance. Anita's vague plan of calling for help evaporated in the fact. Of indifference, the group boarded a transit tube. Kendall Station was too big to walk. The tubes were a quick way to get from place to place. Anita had been expecting something like a subway train or a turbolift, but it was just a platform in a big empty tube. She was tempted to ask about it, but decided not to tell slaving bandits just how little she knew about the world. Kun pressed a button on the control panel and told it where he wanted to go. The tube filled with blue light, then everyone fell upwards. Anita's stomach dropped. She stared around her, but all she could see was the wide metal tube whizzing by at a terrifying rate. They didn't appear concerned. Duro's expression was what Anita would expect when someone was standing in an elevator. Anita wondered what would happen if she threw up. Nothing. Good. Probably after several minutes, Anita felt herself slow down. The group was reoriented in midair by the tube, then deposited gently on a platform. The door opened and the gang strolled casually out into the station. A few minutes of brisk walking brought them to a storefront. There was a sign on the door that said Bonvonified. As the gang went in, it was a porn shop. At least Anita thought it was. Alien knickknacks lined the shelves. Trinkets and tools and a few bits she thought were clothing. There was a glass case behind the counter filled with weapons, disruptors, and plasma casters. Mostly, Anita thought the store was empty at first. Then she saw the bodies. There were 4 of them. Runner like GLA phaser rifles lay next to the corpses, blood pulled around them. Anita gagged. She'd never seen a dead person before. If she'd had anything to eat in the last few days, she was sure she would blow chunks fortin. Adely Durko was too preoccupied to notice her dry heaving. What the Durko shifted Anita to his other arm and pulled his piece. Looking disruptor cannon. The rest of the gang whipped their weapons out. To maybe we should go 5 and suggested. I don't think Boney's going to be taking customers. Shut it 5 and soon. Clacked. He stalked forward. His stopped when the door behind the counter, his open. A man walked in. Tall, dark human stores closed. The human said. His voice was deep and smooth. Anita stopped gagging long enough to goggle at the man. He was dressed all in black with a long black coat and a wide-brimmed black hat. Had a jaw like a lantern lined with stubble. The sight of him made Anita's breath catch, not with desire. He wasn't particularly handsome. Anita froze for the same reason. A mouse freezes when it sees a panther. Anita had met some scary people in her life, The gang holding her were only the latest in a long line of predators she'd had to deal with. Some she'd outsmarted, some she'd escaped, none of them scared her. The way the man in black did him moved with deadly grace. His eyes were colder than the void. Everything about him screamed D. Ethaman looked at the gang as she walked around the counter. They were all pointing guns at him. He didn't seem to care. Stores closed. His eyes flicked to Anita, then back. Where's Bonve? Thun demanded. Stores closed. The human repeated. A hand slid his long black coat back, revealing the revolver on his hip. Sized the human up. Didn't like what he saw. You killed him, didn't you? The man in black said. Nothing, boss. 5 and spoke up, boss. I think that's him. That's the lead dealer. I told you to shut it. 5 and soon growled. There ain't no such thing. He pulled 2 more guns to point at the human. I got business with Boney if you ain't killed him. I'd like a word. I told you the store's closed, said. Themin in black, you can leave, or I can make you leave. Make us leave. Der Kirk, you got gigs. Prim, we're 4-2-1 and we got you dead to rights. The man in black said. Nothing. You hear me, Lunker? Durcode demanded. Forget them. Durum clacked. It's not worth it. We're leaving. The gang backed away from the manwapons. Steady Anita finally stopped staring long not to panic. Scary, as the man in black looked. He was Schumann, a dangerous human. He might be the only person on the station able and willing to help. Her Anita needed help. She'd spent 2 days trying to wriggle out of her bonds, or convince the bandits to let her go. It was nothing doing. She'd hoped to have better luck with Bonvi, but Bonvi was dead. No Bonvi meant no sailin'. And Anita was going to be fed gillet. Wait, Anita called. Help me. You have to. Thumped Anita on the head. The Gro pulled the punch, but it still knocked her senseless. Anita went limp. Dimly she heard Zay the names. Tell Boney West stop by. I'll do you one better, said the man in black. Leave the kid. I'll make sure you get what's coming. Anita blurry looked. The man in black wore an annoyed grimace. Had stopped backing away. We'll get wha. That's coming. I don't like the sound of that Luna good. There was a boom. Loud cun fell over. The man in black had a pistol in each hand. Anita hadn't seen him draw. She lulled her head to the side. 5 Nan Glod were on the ground, dead or dying. A quick draw. Did the man in black shoots of a steatonly sounded. Like one shot, Durko pulled the trigger on his cannon. Nothing happened. The human holstered his pistols. Durko pulled the trigger again. He stared at this disruptor, then glared at the human. You've got a nullifier. Yep, the man in black reached into his coat. He pulled out a pump-action chess. Euclid and around into the chamber, set the kid down. And you can walk, let me guess, said Gruthhem. Primitive metal slingers don't got a power source. An nullification field won't stop them. Put her down, said the human. There's just one problem, Lunker. The Groot threw his cannon. Metal slingers won't hurt. The man in black dodged. A strong hand clamped around Anita. And I don't need no gun. Burnshet threw Anita at the human, too. The man in black dropped. Anita flew past them, crashing into the glass case behind the counter. The glass held. The girl bounced off to smack against the counter. She heard the boom of the shotgun as she tumbled to the floor. The shotgun boomed again. She should probably doing something she couldn't. The impact had knocked the air out of her. Anita lay there. Her head hurt, their back hurt, their rib shirt. She'd taken beatings before. She was pretty sure she wasn't dying. She wasn't sure if she'd be able to move, not that she could do much anyways. She was still tied up. A minute later, the man in black came back around the counter. He hoisted Anita upright. She go pet herbs were definitely bruised, maybe broken. The man examined the cables wrapped around her restraining coil, here marked, the code 1387. She'd seen her couse it when they're out to's the bathroom. The other human reached behind her, tapping into the device at the upper center of her back. The coils retracted. Anita's lumped back to the ground. Oh God, she stretched her arms. That was so much better. The man left without another word. He went back through the door behind the counter. Anita rubbed her arms, then her legs. The metal coils had chafed to her skin, but the device hadn't been tight enough to cut off her circula. Tie-in that was good. Anita could stand. Now what? Anita glanced at the door the man had entered. Then she looked at them, and he had killed. The grotto's head was a spattered, bloody mess. The other 3 were just as dead. Anita hesitated, then went for the bodies. It was gross. But Anita searched them anyway. She didn't find a single gong. The man in black must have looted them already. She did take some of the smaller guns off a 5. She took a gun strap, tool looping it around herself like a belt. She'd never shot a gun in her life, but having them made her feel a little better. Anita, on cidered here options, she could just leave. The gang might try to hunt her down, but she was guessing they wouldn't bother. If the man in black was who she thought the was, they'd have bigger problems anyway. On the other hand, wandering an alien station with no money was what had gotten her in the first place. The man could help her. There was even a chance that he would. He was a cold-blooded killer. But if he meant their harm, he wouldn't have untied her. He wasn't her. Either he hadn't regarded Anita with anything resembling interest. If anything, he'd seen her as an annoy. Aunt Anita wasn't sure she liked that, but it meant there wasn't a danger. Probably decision made. Anita went through the door. The man had entered. She found a room full of junk at the other end of the store. room was another door, bigger. She went in that one too. She found another storeroom. This one was full of cages. The man in black stood at the center of the room. He held at any furred creature by the scruff of its neck. The creature had 8 limbs, and 3 of them were dancing over a set of restraints. The restraints were attached to a bugmanazist. Anita thought that was the name. The restraints bound all 4 of the bugman's arms together, a thick cable attached to another set of restraints that bound the legs of the zist. The little furry thing finished its work, and the restraints opened. There weren't more people in the rooms. 6 of them were zist. 3 of them were human, and a man, and a woman, and a little boy's slaves. Anita guessed the little furry thing must be Bonvith the slavers. She noticed a metal suit on the floor. Not just a suit, mech suit. The little furry thing must be edgism. They used mechs to interact with species that were bigger than them, which was everyone. The zist to re-off its restraints. Another one stepped forward and held out its bound arms. The gizm Modi and locked them with a huff. The last of them satisfied. The man in black lifted the gizm Modi and turned him. So they were face to face. Their belongings, she inquired in the shop. The gizmodo, I sold them. I held up my end to deal. Human, I released the merchandise. The human grimaced. I guess you did, so you let me get. Now Boney's eyes flicked to his mech suit like you promised. Yep, the man in black tossed Bonv up in the air. One of the zists snatched him. You're free to go. The gizmodis qualled. Human. This wasn't the deal, Zor. Eat was said. The man in black as that I'd let you go, and I did. What happens after ain't my concern. Human, you son of a Bonvi was unable to finish his sentence, mostly on account of the zist crushing the life out of him. The bug man wrung the gizm. Moda like a dish regan to toss his corpse into one of the cages. Thank you, Human said. The bug that was satisfying the man in black tipped his hat. You're welcome. He looked around at the group. All right, let's get a move on. He turned and walked past Anita and back into the shop. Anita and the slaves followed. The human walked around the counter. One off the zistask. No things. One said, they're here. The human moved to the center of the counter, dumping gongs out of his pocket. Take what you can, Bonnie won't be needing it. The zist and the human male looted the place. The woman and her kids stayed near the man in black. The kid asked, are you him? The man in black started separating the gongs into piles. Am I who? The lead dealer? The boy's eyes shone with excitement. The famous outlaw. The man grunted, focused on his task. I'm called that by some. I knew it. The kid was almost jumping up and down. Anita smiled while she sorted through a clot. Hezrak, she needed new duds. I'm Max. Did you kill all the bad guys? The boy's mother shushed him, apologizing to the man. The lead dealer waved them off, still counting. When he'd finished, he called out 2 minutes. Then Relita gave up on the clothes. There was nothing that would fit. There she was picking through the electronics when the storefront door burst. A wave of aliens in station security armor rushed in. They shouted and waved their guns. Everyone but the lead dealer froze. The security people stopped short of rushing the Zist proba. Bly, because the bugmen were known to lift 20 times their own weight. Instead, they pointed guns and yelled at the bugs to get on the ground. Some of the slaves complied, some got ready to fight. A pair of feline ran at Anita. She bolted, sprinting to where the lead dealer was. The feline followed, but skidded to a halt when they saw the man in black. The lead dealer regarded the feline coldly. He swept his eyes across the storefront, assessing the yelling guards and the angry Zist. That drew a pistol and aimed it into the storeroom behind the counter. Had pulled the trigger. Everyone froze at the boom. The lead dealer holstered his pistol and spoke into the silence. Looks like you boys just uncovered an illegal slave operation. Good work. Why don't you let these folks finish retrieving their belongings, and we'll be on our way. The guards looked at each other. The leader stepped forward. He was a Jism Modi with security stamped across the chest piece of his 2mm mech suit. Van I, a legitimate businessman, all as the area, a bunch of murderers looting his shop. Anita's eyes narrowed. The guard hadn't skipped a beat. At this accusation, he knew damn and well what Boney had been doing. He was probably taking a cut. Space was much different from Earth. Really, cops were the same the universe over. That's so the dealer was cold as the grave. You might want to check the room behind. Look at the cages. We'll sort that out later. The Jism Mada told him, we're taking you in for murder. The lead dealer shifted his coat away from his pistols. You sure that's how you want to play this? Are you stupid? One of the other guards yelled. There's 20 of us free. You idiot. Another guard yelled. That's the lid dealer. Several more guards cursed in fear. The man in black ignored them all. He kept his eyes on Thel. Eater. The Gizm Moda stared at the human through the hole in its chest plate. The human stared back. The Gizm Moda swallowed. You're free to go, human. I expect these others to make a statement. They'll be coming with us. They won't, said the lead dealer. There were several moments of silence. The guard said they can come by the station later, make a statement. I'm sure they'll do just that. The human said, you going to holster them pieces? They won't work anyway. The leaders gnarled, but all he said was, stand out, officers, let these people leave in peace. The rest of the guards put their goo ends away. The lead dealer nudged Anita, grabbed the money. Anita grabbed a shopping bag and dumped the gongs into it. The man spoke up. You heard security, it's time to go. He pointed at the outlaw she'd killed earlier. Don't forget the guns. Them scoundrels took off you in less than 20 seconds. Anita and the slaves were following the lead dealer out of Bonnie's establishment. Station security had watched them with murder in their eyes, but none dared cross the lead dealer. Anita skipped ahead of the others to ask the lead dealer a question. Where are we going now? The cosmic can't. In essayed the man, he held out his hand. Anita gave him the bag of money. What's that? It's a Bartha. Lead dealer ignored the rest of Anita's questions, held the group to a transit tube. The tube was less scary the second time, but she didn't like it nearly as much as the little boy the kid had screamed with the whole way. Anita wasn't sure if she should laugh or yell at the kids. Ended up doing neither. The Cosmic Cantina turned out to be a pretty nice bar, fancy furniture, good lighting, and it had the nearthy plant smell. The place seemed popular too. A bunch of people looked up when the lead dealer walked in. Most of them looked right back down. Tooled Faxi and Noop the bar waved. The lead dealer ignored them. The group went straight up to the bar. There was a lavender zis going from table to table. The man in black tipped his hat at her and said, "Ma Masha pass." She waved at him happily. The human tipped his hat at the bartender next, far low. Appreciate the tip. Far low was also a zista green one. He had 4 guns and 4 tongtorods strapped to his person. His antenna wriggled cordially. Human. The pleasure was mine. I hate slavers more than you do. Looked over the slaves. You were successful. It take it. The lead dealer grunty affirmatively have fished some gongs out of his pocket and placed them in front of the barkeep. I got some business to take care of. Can you look after these folks? For a bit, maybe get some food in them. The famous lady springing for a Milan of the old Phelang grinned at many. You're going to ruin your reputation. Human, he only has their reputation because you wouldn't shut up, Pillith. The barkeep reminded him. He turned back to the lead dealer. I can feed them, but I can't protect them for long. I'm just a bartender. A few hours will be enough. The lead dealer tipped his hat again. I appre. Sidetha turned to the slaves. All right, folks, get yourselves a seat. I gotta take care of something, but Farlone and Jilia will look out for you till I get back. He handed the bag of money to one of the zist. Their parcel. This out yourself some grub. Anita moved towards the zist with the lead dealer pulled her aside. Themant, that took you Heskdar there more. Anita nodded. 13 more still on the ship. The matted witch dock 17. The lead dealer turned and walked away. Wait. Anita called, take me with you. Notha man in black kept walking. Stay here. Eat ever. Rito Anita wanted to argue with the man, but the thought of burritos stopped her. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. She let the man walk and got their share of gongs from the zist. The lavender zist took her order, and the food came quick. It was good. 2 things were finally looking up. The lead dealer returned 2 hours later. By then, Anita had downed 2 burritos and half a pitcher of water. She'd tried for whiskey, but the human couple told Farlow human teenagers shouldn't have booze. Anita was gracious enough to forgive them. She was free. She had guns and money. Her stomach was so full. Lithert, this was probably the best day she'd had since she left Earth. The human thanked the baron, addressed the human family. Where were you headed? New Bounty, said the woman. I've got a nuncler. The lead dealer nodded. He turned to Anita. And you, I've got my own plans. She told him. The man nodded. He turned to the Zisteni of, how to fly a ship. All 6 of the Zist raised their hands. There's one in Dock 710. It's your sonly stipulation is you gotta get these folk. Pointed at the family. The new bounty, any takers? The Zist looked at each other. One of the purple one spoke. The voice was female. We will gladly take it. Thank you, human. Just see that they get there. Said the man. The ship stocked. I'll walk you down the reef. You're all ready to go. It was another walk and another transit tube. The station was still crowded, but the crowd parted around the dealer like he was a walking bombs. Soon the group was in front of Kun's ship. Anna to watch the others. He praised and thanks on the man, and in black something he tolerated with barely restrained annoyance. When the last of them had boarded, the lead dealer frowned down at Anita. You sure you don't want to go with them? Nope, Anita smiled. I'm coming with you, no sure. I am, she said. You're famous, you need so. Miana that can da things for you. Incognito like not. The lead dealer's glare could freeze a stary. You'll come around. Anita was sure. Hey, what's your name anyway? The lead dealer glared harder. I'm going to call you Jack. Anita decided no, you won't. The lead dealer's hand drifted towards his gun. Anita smiled at him. She had him pegged. Now the lead dealer was as cold as they came, but he had a code he wouldn't hurt. Anita, she'd figured out something else too. Zenit, when he was talking with the barkeep. He was awkward. The lead dealer was churn gruff because he didn't know how to talk. Togpopel, the poor guy, had needed Anita. She would take care of him. It was the least she could do. Anita beamed at the man in black. I'm glad you found me. Check, this will be the start of a beautiful relationship. The lead dealer paled. Hell no.